Welcome to Sweating Sundays. This one's for the football sickos. If that's you, welcome home. Let's sweat.
It's Sweating Sundays. We're live. We're pre-recording. Our first episode's live. That's a great start. False start. 5 yards back on the offense. But that's what we do here on Sweating Sundays. We're trying to give you an insight look on how to sweat during a game like this quarterback is trying to get the play call out in time. My name is Declan Goff. I'm from Score North and Purple Daily. I'm a lifelong tortured Vikings fan. We got Derek Brown, D-Bro from Fantasy Pros, one of the top NFL and fantasy football minds around, and a lifelong believer in Drew Brees. And then Thor Nystrom from our Score North platform, Thor Talks Purple, one of the best draft minds, college props minds in the country, and a man who wakes up every morning just wishing to be like Sonny Weaver in Draft Day from Kevin Costner. So thank you to everyone who initially subscribed. We already got a 300-plus subscriber base. Hit the subscribe button now, and you will be alerted when episodes drop. We'll kind of give you a little bit of a tail of the tape of what to expect here from us at Sweating Sundays. So this is going to be a fun football show. We're going to be talking props. We're going to be talking lines. We're going to be talking football things in general, too. We're all three of us are football sickos. So this isn't just going to be lines and props and jamming all that stuff down your throat. No, we're going to talk what's happening in the NFL, what's happening in college football, and other sicko behaviors that we do. For a little bit of a schedule updates, we will be recording on Mondays in the preseason. So we'll have once-a-week episodes until the NFL season starts, which is in about a month now. So we'll have once-a-week episodes. Once the football season starts, we're going to be live on Tuesday, or we'll be recording on Tuesdays and then live on Thursdays. So 2 times a week, you can see Sweating Sundays in your YouTube feed, in your podcast feed. That Thursday live show is going to be super fun because we've kind of decided to come up with, we want our community involved into this, so we're going to come up with a parlay each episode by the end of it that will have kind of some actionable things on it. But at the end of the day, we want Sweating Sundays to be a home for you football sickos and looking for any type of fun things that are happening in the college football scene and in the NFL scene. So for Thor, for D-Bro, I'm Dex. We're super excited to be here. D-Bro, I'll throw it to you. I think yesterday you were texting Thor one-on-one, but us three were all texting too last night. Kind of felt like first day of school, Christmas Eve vibes, right? Like this, we've been looking forward to this for like months, and now here we are finally recording the first real episode of Sweating Sundays.
Yeah, dude, we've been talking about this for months and months, everything in the works, like building the castle before everybody gets to see it. I'm super excited for this, man. Like I talked about this out on social media that it's been a few years since Thor and I have done like a consistent weekly show. I'm so excited to be back to doing that, especially with you involved, Dex. It's going to be freaking fantastic. And yeah, man, we're just talking ball. We're talking all things like betting, college football. We're going to get into some all-22 action and our thoughts as some quarterbacks as a prospects, after the Hall of Fame game, man. But like, it's all things ball, man. And I'm so excited to do this freaking show with y'all because I think it's going to be fantastic. And I hope people will love this show as much as we do.
Dorsky, welcome in, man. What do you think?
Yeah, excited to do it. Yeah, I mean, like in the fall, watching football, the football markets, it's predictive analysis and trying to make money, payroll, bankroll management, everything like that. But we watch the game very close and we try to project what's going to happen in those games, point spread, total, win totals here in the summer. And then, of course, player props, very near and dear to my heart, NFL and college. So excited to do it.
So here's what we're going to do on today's episode. D-Bro just talked about the Hall of Fame game that took place. We're going to have a conversation on that. We're even going to talk about what we should even be looking for in preseason betting. Yeah, I mean, we got football on our hands here, okay? We finally got some tangible things to look at. Thorsky, the college football season obviously starts before the NFL season, so that's a whole other layer too. And at the end of this episode, we're going to do a little bit of a snake draft, which is what we do a lot on Purple Daily, but also we're going to take some win totals. We talked a little bit about them in our pilot episode, if you consumed that, but there's 32 teams, obviously, in the NFL with win totals. We all have prepped overs and unders. I think we have all prepped enough to the point where none of us hopefully get sniped from our entire big board. If that does happen, it's going to be delicious, and I can't wait for it, to be completely honest, because bring on the chaos. But that should be super fun. So let's start out here with the Hall of Fame game reaction. Thor, I'm gonna toss the ball to you here. What kind of stood out to you? There was, I know the Arizona Cardinals, good luck to them, and I don't know if anyone's going to be picking them in their over-unders later on in this episode. But what did you take away from that Hall of Fame game that we got on Thursday last week?
It was sort of like an NBA All-Star game with no stars, and that there was no defense played, and so it was actually kind of fun. Just both the offenses going up and down the field, and it was sort of a night at the OK Corral shootout for Haynes King and Carson Beck, which is a sentence that I never thought I was going to say again. ACC adversaries last season, but yeah, it was super fun to watch that the little shootout, and both those guys played pretty well.
Debro, how about you?
Man, I mean, I could have brought this up. I know on certain episodes we're going to talk about, basically our sicko moment of the week. I mean, mine this week was I'm watching all 22 for preseason Hall of Fame action on a Friday night. While most people are, at a dinner, at a bar, spending time with friends, I'm grinding Hall of Fame game all 22 for Carson Beck and Haynes King. But I was actually, man, I really enjoyed it because I didn't catch much of the game live. So going back and especially getting the context of the all 22, both of these quarterbacks I thought were very interesting prospects. It looks like all of social media really, really miss football, and the fact that they are glazing Carson Beck incredibly right now, where it's like, and I don't want to take anything away from his performance. We're going to get into it and stuff, but again, we also need to be real about this too.
So Carson Beck was in college forever, it felt like, right? I mean, from 2020 all the way right through 25, Georgia to Miami last year. Ends up being a third-round pick. Thorsky, he's battling there with Jacoby Brissett. Now, he had obviously the nice game. He had some accomplishments in college. Do you think that they'll eventually give it to Carson Beck to start, or is this going to be a job maybe he earns along the way with Arizona this season? Where do you kind of see Carson Beck's timeline of being the QB1 in Arizona, if he will be the QB1 in Arizona?
He's definitely going to start games this year. I don't know if I'd put the word earned on it, but as we get later into the fall and as Arizona's their goal of working to the top of the 2027 draft board starts to coalesce a little bit more, I think, why are you going to start Jacoby Brissett at that time? We're going to see Carson Beck down the stretch. But yeah, as far as beating him out of camp, no, I put those odds at 0. But yeah, we are going to see Carson Beck later this fall for sure.
Yeah, 43, I believe, games started in college, and I assume that counts playoff, bowl games, etc. So went 37-6, appeared in 55 games in college. He redshirted his first year in Georgia in 2020, but yeah, then played for 5 more years, 4 seasons at Georgia, the 1 at Miami. Debro, how about you, man? I mean, do you feel that Carson Beck is someone that is going to be able to be the starting quarterback for them? Do you see him as an NFL quarterback long term? This Arizona Cardinals, I know the Cardinals and the Dolphins, right? Where it's just basically already before week 1, we're looking at both of those teams as who's going to tank harder, who's going to get that number 1 pick. But where do you see Carson Beck fitting into Arizona's plans?
I think he'll start games this year. I don't see him as a long-term starter at all. I don't think that that's going to happen. I think Carson Beck profiles best as a long-term backup in the NFL because there are strengths to his game. He's at his best when it's 3-5-step drop, ripping throws to the short and intermediate parts of the field. The part where Carson Beck, we didn't see this really, obviously, in a very limited sample in the Hall of Fame game, but the problem where he gets himself in trouble is when he goes full Will Levis, bad Kirk Cousins, and he starts writing checks that his arm and his talent can't cash, and he starts throwing hospital balls into tight windows where it's dude, what are you doing? And we didn't see this in the Hall of Fame game, and everybody's oh, he was so awesome. He was ripping it on the Hall of Fame game. Give it some context, too. There was a crap ton of first read throws. And again, it is the Hall of Fame game. Predetermined, not reading the field, that should be expected in NFL action, the first game they're playing in the Hall of Fame, limited time in camp and installs of the NFL offenses and stuff like that. So, was he accurate in the short and intermediate? Yes. Did he also hit some balls in the second level? He laced one down the sideline with a wide receiver having a double move, and the cornerback bit hard, man. I think also, this is the first action, and a lot of these guys that are playing in the Hall of Fame game are not going to make the 53. Yeah. So how do you show out? You make a play. So, you saw Arizona do this a few different times in the Hall of Fame game, where there was an out and up that Carson Beck didn't complete. There was a double move that they bid on hard, and he had a nice second level throw on. But really taking advantage of these Carolina Cardinal, these Carolina Panthers corners being a little bit aggressive and biting on those. like Carson Beck had an okay game, but let's not get it twisted here, man. Like everything we saw over a long college career is still very adamantly true about Carson Beck for a player in his final collegiate season, guys. Sure, he was 8th in adjusted completion rate, but he was also 131st in ADOT. He was 102nd in big time throw rate. So can he run the offense and be a competent backup? Sure. Is there anything really more than that we should expect out of Carson Beck in the NFL? No.
So we're going to get into, too, maybe what team should be, or what we should be looking at in preseason games, actions when that starts to drop, and we're going to get some preseason football here very, very shortly. But Thor, before we get there, what did you like the Panthers draft? Remind us here. I mean, what was your kind of takeaway of what they were able to do, Carolina this year at the draft? Were you impressed with what they did? Did you want to see something more from them? You know, they kind of defaulted their way into the postseason a little bit, but did you like what they did in the draft this year, or were you kind of a little skeptical?
No, I thought they had a strong draft. In middle of the first round, you get the guy that's projected to be the best left tackle in Monroe Freeling. Now it's a boomer, closer to a boomer bust kind of profile, but he very clearly had the highest ceiling for a projected prototypical left tackle in the NFL. And in a draft class where there was a dearth of first round talent and really talent overall, this past draft class wasn't very good. To get that guy as far outside of the top 10 as they did, I thought that was well done, and they got good value as you went down there on the board. One of them, fortune has gone against them with Chris Brazzell here early. Chris Brazzell's going to miss his rookie season, but the third round, that was good value there as well. We'll have to see how he ends up bouncing back from injury. But yeah, overall draft, they did well.
Debro, you kind of liked what they did too, or you were more skeptical?
Yep. No. I was actually just pulling on my draft grades going in the Wayback Machine. I gave them an A. I really liked what they did in the draft. Like Lee Hunter was a freaking fire hydrant. He's going to help improve the run defense. And going to the other quarterback here in the Hall of Fame game that showed out, Haynes King, signing him as a UDFA, I thought was a masterclass too. Like, I think they gave him $250K guaranteed, which is high for UDFA.
Yeah, right.
But like when you're QB2 on the roster walking into training camp is freaking Kenny Pickett, yeah, you probably and Bryce Young is your starter, and he's been benched multiple times and looked very suspect in multiple NFL seasons. Like, giving a good chunk of change to a UDFA quarterback is probably, especially a guy like Haynes King, is probably a really sound investment, guys.
So when preseason football games start, and Debro, I'm going to keep it with you here for just a sec. When preseason football games start, and these sickos are looking for either a line or looking for props or looking for certain things, are there things that you like to try to grab early or try to get in on early in preseason football? I know at times it's a complete crapshoot. We just talked about it's a lot of guys who are just fighting for their way even to get on the 53 practice squad, UDFA, late round guys. But is there any strategy that you like to implement if you are betting on preseason football?
I think in a lot of games, betting the unders is very sound, especially like when you're looking at the totals, just because you are talking about a lot of games, a lot of backups, especially early in the preseason where you haven't had much training camp. Guys are building rapport. So a lot of times, are we going to see efficient offenses in the preseason? No, because the quality of the players and the time that they've had in camp and stuff like that. So like, I think just from 100-foot view, betting the unders on the totals and stuff is usually a really sound outcome. Now, if you did that for the Hall of Fame game, you're definitely like, oh man, that did not turn out well. But again, that was an outlier kind of preseason game, especially from a Hall of Fame game. So the process is the process and you ride the wave. But I think especially when you're looking at playing, like betting props for preseason players, you need to look at playing time. This all comes back to playing time and looking at being cognizant of depth chart, connections. Like I texted both of y'all, like I was giving out some bets to some colleagues and stuff in the industry. And I was like, okay, Webb is probably going to catch a touchdown. He's probably going to, because in camp, like Haynes King has been targeting him religiously. So if you're staying up to date on drum beating camp and you're looking at connections in practice, things that beat writers are following, taking that with a grain of salt, but also understanding context, it all comes back to playing time. Some comes back to rapport, but that's really like the overarching view of what, if I'm betting preseason stuff, and I will be out here betting a ton of preseason props every single week. Like, this is where you build the bankroll, boys. Like, I think there's a lot of easy action and stuff, especially like you're going to see a lot of books also. Like the guys that have been the hype part of training camp, their numbers are going to get a lot of steam and they move very, very quickly. So while if you can't get in on some of these guys, especially if they're getting discussed a crap ton early, just know that their prop lines are going to get bumped up a ton. And if the playing time, if you're reading in between the tea leaves of like playing time, there's some really good under opportunities here too for some guys.
I'm looking at just over-unders right now, and there's even the Vikings-Giants game actually is a 40.5 over-under for that game. Next, I believe that was the Saturday. That's Saturday, August 15th, so that's 5 days from now. A lot of these, 38, 35, 36.5. You don't see too many of these in regular season for the NFL in terms of the low ends of 36. But, okay, 40.5. There's at least one out there.
I'll pick that under.
And look, I'm going to pick your brain, too, on college football side here in just a bit. But do you kind of agree with Debro? Is there other things you might look at in NFL preseason stuff if you are getting in on any of that type of action?
Well, on the sides, I'm looking at the history of those coaches in the preseason. I think is a better indicator than any perceived talent thing. When it's you're trotting out a lot of second team, third team, fourth team, your installation. Some games they're not showing anything, but you can get a prerogative for whether the coach actually cares or not about winning the games just from his history. That's one thing that can inform you kind of there. And then I think the better thing to bet in the preseason is with the props. And Debro hit on it. It's an information thing. You're trying to ascertain how many reps are these guys going to get, and you have to go kind of into the weeds with the coach's comments in the lead up to that game of where the reps kind of going. But in this game, we are just looking in sports betting. We are just looking to get value against a number. That's it. Put ourselves in the best position to potentially return the ticket. And in preseason props, it's looking, what guys are listed too high. The nominal starter who's going to come out after a drive or whatever. And then what sort of backup heroes do we think are going to get a lot of run during that game, and potentially their stats are going to go along with that, potentially against a depressed price point. So that's most of the stuff. I'm not a huge preseason bettor, but if I'm doing it, that's what I'm targeting.
Okay, all right, I like it. And for college football, round the corner here. I know that this is maybe even your bigger wheelhouse too. And is it just because, and in my best Michael Scott voice, explain this to me like I'm 5. I will likely be saying that a lot on this podcast to both of you. Is it just because there are so many college, I feel like when people bet on NFL, right, we get 16 games, and we get a Thursday night game, we get a slew on Sunday, and we get 1 or 2 on Monday. And, it's really easy to focus in, plus the fan base, you're usually kind of watching your team or you're just watching a primetime game. Well, my goodness, in college football, there's hundreds and hundreds of teams that are playing throughout the given week, essentially. What's the strategy, or what's different to you about betting on like college football as opposed to maybe betting in the NFL? Like what kind of stands out to you that's different about both of those?
Well, I mean, it's similar principles, but yeah, you have a bigger tapestry of teams and then a bigger tapestry of prop offerings to a market that in my opinion is not as well versed on those as they are in the smaller one. I mean, just think of going to a market if you're trying to get value. If there's one thing being sold at that market, you're probably not going to get a good deal. If there's 1,000, there's chances are you're going to find a couple things that you can get a good price on. So it's more or less that there's opportunities there's more possibilities for opportunities because of that, but also because the market again is not as well versed. Like when we're going down talking props of like G6 games, that's where knowing the depth charts, knowing the tendencies, having a good idea of how you think that game is going to potentially play out. Game scripts become big with that. But yeah, there's more opportunities for value. So that's why I prefer betting college football a lot of times.
Debro, do you still dabble in the college football realm too, or is it mostly NFL for you? I mean, do you do a little bit of both? What do you how do you go about it each weekend?
My DGen stuff all goes to preseason NFL betting, and I stick in the NFL streets. If I'm dabbling at all in college football, I'm going to be doing the same thing the listeners are doing, and I'm just tailing Thor. That's what I'm doing on a weekly basis.
Yeah, we did this a little bit on the pilot episode. We kind of just we tossed out a couple over-unders that maybe we liked, we didn't like. But I don't know if it was Thor or Debro said we should just snake draft them. Like let's all draft a team here, and we'll go here. So I will say I'm going to put our 3 names because I'm not going to just pick it randomly. I'm going to put our 3 names in a random generator, and we're going to do this on the fly on this other computer here, just so we can get a good 1, 2, and 3rd pick, because I don't want to do that as well. So here's what I'll do. I'm going to go Wheel and Names, good old wheelandnames.com. This always works very well. I'm going to put Declan, Thor, and Debro. All right, boys, I'm going to shuffle this, and we're going to see where we go. All right, with the top pick, Debro. Debro gets the top pick.
Let's go.
Thor, you have the 2nd pick. I have the 3rd and the wraparound pick. So here's what we're going to do. And in fact, I loaded in the music here, boys. Last night, I literally played NFL Films music to make sure we could add the nice little music bumper behind us here as we draft some over-under teams. So here's what we'll do. We'll snake draft this style. We're going... We're just going 3 rounds, or are we going 4 rounds? Remind me.
4 rounds, baby.
4 rounds, right? Okay, cool.
Yeah.
So 4 rounds. We're going to start with Debro, over to Thor, then to me for the wraparound, the 3rd and the 4th pick, and then back to Thor, into Debro, etc. And then we'll all draft 4 teams. So these are over-unders. We all have different strategies about how we want to say this team will go over-under and whatnot. So, Debro, you do have the top pick here. Who is the top team you're taking? Over-unders, and then, obviously you'll give them, and then you let us know where you're going to go with it. I'll make a graphic, too, for this, by the way. It'll be on our YouTube page. I'll put it on our socials, too, just so everyone can see it. And then, follow along in the comments, too. If there's other teams that you're looking to hammer or under a certain over-under, we're all ears, and we're going to be taking that feedback, too. But, Debro, you're on the clock, man. Who's your first pick?
Man, I'm the one that's screaming at me right now, and I got to take this as the 101, is the Washington Commanders under 7.5 wins. You can get this at plus money depending on what book you're looking at right now. This team is facing the 4th hardest schedule in the NFL. We're getting the news that Laramie Tunsil is going to miss a substantial amount of the season right now with a torn tricep. They added Stephon Diggs, but still looking at this offense, do they have enough weapons for Jaden Daniels? Can Jaden Daniels stay healthy? We shall see. This schedule is brutal, guys. Like, in division games, they get Philly and Dallas twice. They get Seattle, San Francisco, the Rams, the Bengals, the Jaguars, the Texans. That's possibly 10 losses right now. Not even talking about the beginning of their schedule where they do get the Eagles, Cowboys, Seahawks, Colts, Giants, and 49ers to open the season. Then they get a bye. It's not impossible that we could be looking at that bye week is when Dan Quinn gets fired and this team just goes off the rails. So give me the under here for the Washington Commanders.
Yeah, and of course, bringing in a new defensive coordinator as well. The defense was a travesty last year. They bring in Durante Jones from the Vikings. I think maybe after they preferred Flores a little bit, but couldn't get Flores. They go to his understudy, and I at least like the idea of the philosophy shift there, but that's going to take a little bit. I mean, even right away, Flores with the Vikings, that's a very complicated scheme. Durante Jones is the one behind Flores that was cooking up the exotic zone coverage looks behind all the heavy pressure sets, obviously, and looks that Brian Flores cooks up. We'll see how Durante Jones can end up doing in Washington, but it wouldn't be a surprise at all if there's some stop-starts in that transition. You mentioned Tunsil's out. The quarterback there is injury-prone. If he gets injured again, you're headed back there. And then you also don't have a ton of skill talent, right? I mean, it's probably the NFL's worst running back room. And then they just signed Stephon Diggs, and he should be a starter in the NFL, but obviously sort of heading towards the back end right now. And you have one injury there, and you're in problematic area as well. So I agree with you on this one.
Thor, I love your call out of the DC too, and especially acclimating to that scheme. Unless I'm wrong, guys, they're going to have 8 new defensive starters, all trying to learn this on the fly.
Yeah, and this scheme, it requires a very specific kind of personnel. We've talked a lot about this on the Viking shows, especially leading up to the NFL draft, the kind of prototypes that Brian Flores looks at by position, which it just goes along with his very unique sort of style of playing defense. The Commanders don't have those kind of players yet. I mean, for instance, Brian Flores likes the big boundary corners with long arms that mug you off the line. Washington, just as one example, they have the small boundary cornerback. I mean, it's Sanders still and stuff like this. And then Washington, one of their biggest areas of need here the last couple of years, and I know they invested resources into it this offseason, but the edge rusher position and the utter lack of pass rush, That's the biggest thing with Brian Flores' scheme. His defenses are not reactionary. They attack, and that attack begins with the pass rush and causing havoc in the backfield. So I do think there's going to be some stops and starts there until Washington can start to get the personnel that fits the scheme.
Yeah, they were a team that I was kind of like iffy on over under of that line up until the Tunsil injury. You take out your left tackle, you have a quarterback that's already injury prone. I feel like people want to have a bounce back season for Washington after they went, to the doorstep of the Super Bowl with rookie year Jaden Daniels. But man, losing your tackle, that's a huge kick in the pants. Thor, you're on the clock now. What do you got here for your first pick, over under? Who are we taking? Are we going over? Are we going under? What do you got?
I'm going to take the Patriots under 10.5 wins. Last year, the Patriots played the NFL's easiest schedule. They go 14-3, 12-1 in their 13 games against non-playoff teams. They fattened up against this super easy schedule. They went 2-2 against playoff teams. That's about to get much, much harder here. The Patriots are projected to play one of the 10 hardest schedules in 2026 here. And they also have the hardest week 1 through 4 stretch in terms of strength of schedule and in terms of winning percentage last year of your opponents. Of the last 40 years, the hardest opening of a season in the NFL. 3 of those 4 games on the road. Talking about the schedule changes, they're playing Steelers, Jaguars, Seahawks division winners. Obviously, they played the Bills twice, and now the schedule shifts to the AFC West and NFC North. So Broncos, Chiefs, Packers, Bears, Vikings, Lions, Chargers, etc. It just gets a lot harder here. And then you also have these regression indicators that are sort of hanging over New England heading into sort of this gauntlet schedule. 7-3 in one possession games last year against that super easy schedule. They had a couple of those came in the very last minute. The health regression, I think, is going to rear its head as well. Last year, they were one of the healthiest rosters in the NFL. That almost never repeats. And lastly, if you have a poor start there to the season against that gauntlet, the chatter with the Mike Vrabel stuff and the distractions there, I think is only going to pick up, and that's where this thing could truly go wayward. But I'm going way under the 10.5. I think the Patriots missed the playoffs this year.
I love how you brought up the off-field stuff there, Thor, because, yes, like winning is the wonderful cologne that covers up all the stink of other things and stuff like that. If they start losing, tell me that doesn't become like a national media thing again with Vrabel and all of his off-field stuff, which we could do a whole entire side episode about. And if that becomes a problem again this year, tell me that doesn't become like, especially for a head coach that preaches accountability and being there for your teammates and blah, 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 blah. Like leading a locker room, if the losses start to pile up and the off-field stuff, like it will be a talking point again sometime this season.
Yeah, and fair or not, right? Like, you know, whether he has his job, whether he didn't have his job, whether it's fair or not the start of the season, I totally agree with you. And starting against that really hard sort of gauntlet schedule, whether that would be a factor or not, if they begin 1-3, people are going to make it a factor, whereas it's probably more about the strength of schedule there, right?
They might start 0-4.
Whereas if New England has a really good start against that hard schedule, I don't think this gets brought up at all. Right. And so it's totally tied there to the circumstances. But just keeping in mind for people out there, the circumstance is really difficult for New England this year.
Like they might be walking into the Raiders game in week 5, 0-4, and everybody's like, are the Patriots going to get their first win versus the Raiders?
Yeah.
Okay, so I get in the catbird seat here. I get back-to-back picks, which I'm very excited about. I'll take this one. You guys have gone under back-to-back. I'll take an over here, and I will take the Giants over of 7.5.
Oh, okay.
So, big believer in John Harbaugh, first off. I really like what he's been able to do. He's a culture guy. I know he got out of Baltimore, but and Jackson Dart and Scadaboo, we'll see what they have. But here's why I really like it. Number one, they do have a rest advantage this year of +3. So in terms of the games and days that they have rest throughout the entire year, they're positive. They're not going to be negative more than they're positive. So they will be well rested. Their strength of schedule is kind of near the tougher side, so that does pose a bit of a problem. But 7.5 wins. Do I think John Harbaugh can get this team to an 8-win team and maybe even be a playoff team in the NFC East? I really like it. So for my first one, I'm going to go Giants over the 7.5. And again, just looking for 8 wins here, boys. I'm just looking for 8 wins. And you need 9 or 10 to 10 for sure to probably be a playoff team. 9 you could sneak in. They have a really cupcake home schedule, too. They have the Titans on here, the Cardinals on here, the Browns are on here. So it is tougher on the back end of it, weeks 13 through 18. But I give me a Harbaugh factor. I think the G-men bounce up a little bit. I'll take the over a 7.5.
Two factors. Then go ahead, Thor.
Well, I was just going to say I really struggle with this one. Earlier in the offseason, I think I had a hard lean on the over with you, and I'm not saying that I would go under now. I have a hard time putting my finger on that first year with Harbaugh, with the Giants, and then I'm a little bit lower on Dart, I think, than Debro is, so I'm probably a little bit lower on the ceiling. And Harbaugh was talking about Scadaboo's not in game shape yet and stuff like this. I just go back and forth, but I probably would still lean with you on the over.
Yeah, I think the two big things that you're looking at the complexion of the Giants roster and the depth chart and the things that have to go right to get here, and they could go, Dex, is that I think Denard Wilson and being the DC and involving all the parts and pieces, especially that D line, we have to see the breakout season from Abdul Carter. We have to see these guys hit the ground running and create havoc, as well as one of the biggest problems for the Giants over the last few years, and they did address this in the NFL draft, is their offensive line has to play well and stay healthy. And if they can do that, like basically this is all just trench talk here. If the D line can create havoc up front, create turnovers, and kind of cover up some of the warts on the back end of that secondary, as well as can the O-line keep Dart upright and allow them to be able to impose their will and run the ball, those are the two things that, like, can the Giants get there? Yeah, they can. But I think that those are the two big, key critical things that need to go right for them.
So I'll take an under here now with my second pick. I'll go with an under. Now, this could go one of two ways. But you guys brought up the Patriots coaching distraction, coaches distraction, I should say, not coaching. Coaches distractions with everything going on. And I don't like when off the field things start to bleed in. And that is exactly why I'm going to take the under of 8.5 on the Tampa Bay Bucks.
Okay.
Baker, now Baker might use this and absolutely ball the hell out. Like he plays with that bulldog mentality where he might actually use this and say, you know what? No, I'm actually going to go absolutely flip the script on you, flip you the double birds. First half of last year, this dude was playing an MVP level. The back half of it, he was a pedestrian at best quarterback. I like Baker, by the way. This isn't necessarily my not belief in Baker, but them not giving him his contract, I don't like that. I feel like that coaching staff too is on its last shot to really go for a run. Like, they need a run. Like, they need playoff success. They can't afford to just be fighting with a really weak division. They should run away with this, and it doesn't feel like they are. And strength of schedule-wise, they do have one of the 7th hardest schedules in the NFL. They have a negative net rest advantage. For me, I'm going under here. And again, Baker might just carry the whole damn thing, and I'll look like a fool, which is probably more likely. But I'm going to take an under, and I'll go with Tampa Bay under 8.5.
I'm with you on this one. This one was on my list as well. The last 9 games, they went 2-7 last year. The wheels just totally fell off. Then they lose 2 of their veteran leaders on a team that looked to have a dearth of leadership there at the end of the vibes were bad last year. Mike Evans gone now. Levante David gone now. Change at offensive coordinator. Then the team appears to be hedging against this season going wayward themselves by not extending Baker Mayfield, which was not super popular in the locker room. Baker Mayfield's live narrating his feelings about the contract thing right in advance of the season. And I told him, if you don't sign me by this day, then the vibes are terrible on this thing. And again, I think the franchise is already hedging against a poor season here merely by not going through with that. I'm all the way out on the Bucks. I'm totally with you on this one.
We talked about head coaches that could hear their name called, and as far as grabbing pink slips early in the season. Todd Bowles is definitely on the short list there, guys.
Yeah.
They start off the Bengals, the Browns, the Vikings, the Packers, Cowboys, Steelers. They could be walking into a divisional game against the Panthers, 1-5. That could easily be the case. And the other thing we could see about Baker this year, the thing that he has done that has honestly kind of screwed him in so many different years is playing hurt because he wants to go out there for his team. What if we also see this year if Baker Mayfield says, fine, you know what? You don't want to give me the contract. You want to disrespect me when I'm playing as a shell of myself for one of my teammates. What if Baker just makes a business decision and he gets banged up this year and he says, all right, screw it. I'm not going out there. You're not paying me. I'm more worried about my free agency and where I'm going to land next. And if that's the case, guys, Jake Browning is the QB2 on this roster. Good luck.
Yeah, and that might sound, to some people out there ridiculous. But Baker Mayfield, this happened to him already with the Browns.
Exactly.
He played through injury when he probably should not have, and then the team used his performance during that time to flip the narrative on him, kick him out of town, and make a franchise-destroying trade for Deshaun Watson. But we don't need to go back to. But that's what sort of set Baker Mayfield about his journey. You recall there was the anonymous quotes of, "Oh, we need an adult in the room," and then they signed it was Deshaun Watson. But all that stuff on the way out, it took Baker Mayfield a couple years and a couple stops along a couple years in order to find his way back and find the right situation. I totally agree with you. He is not going to play severely compromised in a contract year when the team decided in advance, we ain't extending you.
Because aren't the Buccaneers kind of doing exactly what the Browns did to him previously? They're screwing him over right now with the contract and not wanting to give it to him and pay him and show him the respect because he did play hurt last year. If you would flip the last 2 years on their head and Baker Mayfield had the MVP caliber season of 2024 and 2025, this wouldn't even be a talking point. He'd have his contract right now, but the Buccaneers are using it against him. So if I'm Baker, I'm like, forget you guys. I'm not putting my body on the line for y'all. Like, no, you're going to disrespect me like this? Whatever.
Thorsky, you're back on the clock, brother. What do you got here?
I'm going to stay in the division, and I'm going to go with some optimism here and go sort of against Cass from my last pick. But I'm going to go with the Panthers over 7.5 wins. Last year, of course, Carolina, they back into the division when they go 8-9, but end up winning that division. But they went, I think, 5-2 down the stretch in order to get there, and that coincided with some big and legitimate strides by their young offense. Remember also that the Carolina Panthers put a scare into the Rams in the first round. People kind of forget that. Yeah. But the roster has also improved here over the offseason. We were talking about their draft class earlier on. We like the draft class. They also spend some real money in free agency on the defensive side of the ball. Jalen Phillips, Devin Lloyd. I think Carolina wins the division again. And I'm going multiple wins over this, boys. I'm calling for the Carolina Panthers to win double-digit games in 2026.
Wow.
Okay. So this is interesting. So, Thor, I had them as one of my under candidates.
Oh.
I had them as an under for a couple reasons. Number one, that division is really weak and whack, but and maybe I'm spoiling something. I think the Saints are better. I think the Falcons might be able to even still, if they figure out who they got between Tua and whatnot, maybe with the coaching change, they might be able to do a little bit better. They also have one of the hardest schedules in the entire NFL. They do have a good rest advantage, which is huge, but they have a run here. Week 8 in Green Bay, Week 9 at home against Denver. They have to go play the Ravens, the Vikings, they got some tough sledding plus an early bye of Week 5. I was going to go under. They were on my board, not on my big board. I wasn't going to take them with those top 2 picks. I don't know, man. I got to figure out what I have there in Carolina. And Bryce Young took some nice strides. You do bring up a good point because that playoff game, and this is going to be a theme that I'm going to try to do on Sweating Sundays. I love live betting a money line of a winner and loser. I love it.
Declan texts me a lot of live money line bets.
Hey, Thor, what do you think I should do? And Thor's always like, Declan, don't do that. Declan, don't do that. Don't do it, Declan. Don't do that. And I can't help myself. And I'm pretty sure when they got up 10 points in that wild card game and they were still plus money, I was like, this is easy. They're winning by 2 possessions in the fourth quarter. This will be fine. No. It ended up blowing up in my face. That will be a theme, by the way, on Sweating Sundays. But I would go under.
Who the books are going after live money line betting tour.
It's me. I'm the sucker. It is absolutely me there. Oh, that's awesome.
Man.
I was say so. Thor, you took Panthers over 7.5. D-Bro, you have a couple picks here, back-to-back picks on your over-unders for this year.
Well, I mean, I figure Thor and I might as well fight with my pick of this time. I'm going with my Saints over, and call me a homer, man. I'm going to over 7.5 wins, minus 120 at a lot of different books. You can get it minus 110 at some. I love the Saints this year, man. I think they could be one of these just absolute come out of nowhere teams this year where it's everybody's like, whoa, really the Saints are that good, man? And we saw this kind of the back end of last year, weeks 14 through 18, they closed the season 4-1, 24.8 points per game. They would have done that the entirety of the season. 11th best scoring offense in the NFL was what we would have been looking at. So looking at this offseason, they added Caden Ellis, Travis Etienne, David Edwards on the offensive line. And I think their offensive line has the parts and pieces, if they can stay healthy, to be a top 10 offensive line this year. Kristen Miller in the trenches, Jordan Tyson, Bryce Lance, Oscar Delp. They just gave Tyler Shuck all the weapons he needs to cook this year. Chris Olave is healthy. He got the big contract extension. I mean, I think Kellen Moore, second season as the Saints coach, I think they are taking the division, Thor.
Yeah. I like that a lot.
Yeah, I mean, I'm more ambivalent about them and fading the Bucks and pro Panthers in that division. More ambivalent about them and the Falcons, but I could absolutely see it for sure.
Yep, it's gonna be a very interesting division, man. But going out of the NFC South for my back-to-back picks here, I'm gonna go with a high win total here, but you can get it at plus 110 even money across a ton of different books here. Cincinnati Bengals, baby. I want the over 10.5 wins here, and I know it's spicy. I know that everybody's like, oh, well, really, can the defense do the thing? Can Burrow get any kind of help here? Can Burrow stay healthy? There's a lot of risk here, but there's a lot of upside as well. Like, they're running it back on offense. Their offensive line is going to be league average at best, but they played well last year. Chase Brown in a contract year. I think the offense is going to be, again, a top 10 scoring offense, and they did nothing but add parts and pieces with a crap ton of talent to the defense. I think the defense could take a big step this year, adding Boye Mafe, Dexter Lawrence, which a motivated Dexter Lawrence is a very scary thing, guys. Cassius Howell, Jonathan Allen, Brian Cook on the back end. DJ Turner is quietly become one of the best shutdown corners in the entire NFL. I could read off a laundry list of guys he absolutely just crushed last year in shadow coverage. I think the Bengals are going to take the AFC North, and I love taking the over on their win total here at plus money.
Yeah, I believe the second easiest schedule according to Sharp Football this year. So they have a run. I'm just looking at this right now too, fellas. In weeks 8 through 13, home against the Titans, in Atlanta, home against the Steelers, at Washington, home against the Saints. They can play the Browns in there. Like, they're going to be favored in a lot of those games. Now, I'm a big Burrow fan. I know there's been questions about his health. And the Bengals in general are typically kind of buffoons. So that does scare me a little bit, but they weren't on my big board. They are certainly on my radar. I would love to hammer the over of it. I don't know. There's something about the Bengals that I know they just will kind of fumble it for. I don't know how you feel about it, but 10.5 is, I could see them going over it and winning that division.
Yeah, this one would be a stay away for me. It's you understand with the talent and then the number they're looking at against the strength of schedule. Like I totally get that, but it hinges on Burrow staying healthy the whole season, and that's too big of a variable for me to. Because if he gets injured in the middle of this, or certainly early season, you can just light that ticket on fire. And based on what we've seen here the last couple of years, I just couldn't get there with that. But absolutely, if you knew he was going to stay healthy the whole year against his strength of schedule, they're going to go over that number. But yeah, to me, it's just hinging on that one factor, so I couldn't get there.
Okay. No faith in Joe Flacco, Thor?
I don't know if you're trying to get over 10.5 wins. That's
No, that's fair. It's fair.
Yeah,
that's true. Thor, you're back on the clock, brother.
I'm going to fade another team. I'm going to go under on the Bears 9.5 win total. And this is one of our classic this offseason public against sharp money. The public is on the over of this thing, and then the overall money is coming in on the under the opposite way. That's obviously the sharp bettors. Chicago 11-6, of course, last year, but that was against the last place schedule, the one possession wins, the late wins. That there was some fortune there, with that. Declan, we remember Devin Duvernay and that long kick return that put them into field goal range that, ultimately swung the playoffs for the Vikings. But there was a couple games like that the Bears just pull out there. But now they're facing one of the hardest strength of schedules in football. So you're just totally flipping that. It's sort of like we were talking about with the Patriots before. The Bears, they faced 8 teams that made the playoffs a year ago. And then their roster, of course, lost DJ Moore, lost Drew Dahlman, Kevin Byard, etc. This is not a profile that usually fares very well. You get into the playoffs, the bounce ahead, or the 1 year sort of pop up, and then the next year having to face the much harder schedule. There's the regression indicators here, same as there is for New England. So I'm gonna on the NFC side of that, I'm gonna be going under on the Bears here.
Doesn't the Bears run out of last year feel so much like the 2024 Commanders were like
I bet. Yeah.
the ball bounced
Yeah.
just the fact that right now I can pull up this stat. They won 7 games last year, trailing or being tied in the fourth quarter or in overtime. They set an NFL record for the most comeback wins in the final 2 minutes of a game since the merger of the AFL and the NFL in 1970. This screams regression, and they still have a bottom 5 defense backing this offense. Yes, hammer this under.
Yeah, I think Caleb lost like 15 pounds too. I mean, and good, like probably for good reason. Like he's a little bit more in shape. It feels like if they are going to go over, it's him becoming Superman, right? Like him just literally putting the team on his back, which he did at times with miraculous throws. But he also was one of the, as much as Thor and I know this well, with J.J. McCarthy haters of the accuracy issues, go look at Caleb Williams' missed throw rates and miss accuracy and all the same
dropped
categories.
Interceptions.
Yeah. Like it's just as bad. Now, if he eliminates those plays and he also maybe is a little bit more threat with the run, with the loss, maybe the Bears then go over, but I'm with you guys. And the turnover thing, I mean, were they like plus 20? It was some absurd number. And even if that goes down in half, which would still be like a good year on the turnover margin, that literally is flipping possessions. That's flipping so many different things. I'm with you guys. I would definitely go under on the Bears there.
Yeah, they're too close to the margins, and you can't just expect all those things that were anomalous last year that led to a lot of these last-second wins against the poor schedule to hold against the harder schedule, right? Like, so yeah, I think we're all kind of out on the Bears at that number.
Bears fans will never allow you to understand that amongst 38 qualifying quarterbacks last year, Caleb Williams was 30th in adjusted completion rate, 30th in highly accurate throw rate, 34th in catchable target rate, and he had the 10th highest off-target rate. They will never let you like understand that or put that in context. They cannot wrap their heads around that.
All right, boys, I'm going to go with an over here for my last 2 picks, but the first one, I'm going to take the Tennessee Titans at 6.5 over. Did I snipe you?
Snipe me, man. That was on my board. Dang it.
I almost took them earlier with the thought that they would get sniped, but I was going to roll the dice here. Few reasons for this. Number one, 6.5. Again, I like to look for, and again, famous last words from the in-game bettor that took the Panthers to win up 2 possessions. But I like to look for, can this team get to 7 wins? You know, like when you get to the double-digit ones, that's where it gets really the margin for error becomes a lot harder to get. And with the Titans, I think Robert Saleh deserves a second chance. Let's get that dude as a defensive mind in there. You got Brian Daboll trying to unlock Cam Ward. I love that. On their schedule this year too, the Titans, they have the Jets, the Browns, the Raiders. All right, that's 3 wins. Can you find 4 more on the schedule? So for me, I don't know if they're a playoff team, but I think this number is just low enough that I really like it. Plus, their strength of schedule is about average, but their net rest +6. Big one there from my friend Warren Sharp. So I like that they have the net rest advantage. Thor, are you a believer? Is there a second jump in Cam Ward in the second year? What did you kind of make of his first year as a starter? But I will be taking that over with the Titans.
Yeah, I mean, he's certainly going to improve, and they got him more help. So, yeah, I definitely you're going to see some offensive improvement there. But that poor wide receiver core, they bring in Carnell Tate. We've gotten good early reports on Carnell Tate. You know, I'm curious, is Carnell Tate, is he more like an awesome wide receiver too, like a T. Higgins, or is he a legitimate wide receiver 1 in the NFL? But for the Titans, that question doesn't really matter because you really didn't have anyone to displace him there. So, but yeah, the improved talent there and Cam Ward entering his second season, I do think there's going to be some improvement there.
I don't think enough respect is given to the Titans' offensive line last year too, because people look at them and they look at the names on the depth chart and they say, "You really like this?" Tennessee Titans quietly last year, 13th best in adjusted yards before carry. I think they're going to be able to run the ball this year too.
Okay. All right, so I will take an under here, and I'm between 2, and I feel like, and I played this hit a little bit on the pilot episode. I've been playing it all year long, and I got to just put the money where the mouth is. I will take the under of the 11.5 on the Ravens. Now I know
I love this so much. I love it.
I know they're a Super Bowl pick. A lot of teams love them. A lot of odds love them as Super Bowl favorites. Boys, and Lamar's availability is always a question. So I don't have a question about his ability. That's clear. When that dude is on the field and when he's not playing hurt, yeah, he's a perennial. He's winning MVP awards and he's awesome. And I do think even some of the playoff struggles that have hampered him, his narrative, have been shedded a little bit. He's actually performed really well in some of the recent playoff games. But I don't like a first-year head coach. I don't like first-year coordinators. And just, again, 11.5. You think that this is a 12-win football team for an over? I don't. I think the Bengals are a lot better in that division. So they have negative net rest. Give me the under of 11.5 of Baltimore.
I think it's absolute insanity that they are tied with the Rams for the highest projected win total in the NFL this year. I think, like, you look at just how both of those rosters stack up. We should have massive concerns and questions about the Ravens' offensive line. Jesse Minter can cover up a lot of sins for the defense, but it's not like they were good last year. Lamar Jackson, like, did everybody just tune out of last year and how badly he played down the back half of last year and meshing him with a Declan Doyle system? Like, everybody's like, oh yeah, that's going to work fine. It's perfect. Like, Ben Johnson's amazing. Declan Doyle will be amazing. We still have no clue if Declan Doyle will be a good OC. Like, I've got hope. Do I know that to the tune of 11.5 wins? And as well as you talked about, Dex, Lamar Jackson, it's like when he gets cold outside every year, it's like, I don't know if this dude goes to like eat gas station sushi, or like, I don't know what he's doing, but every single year it's like Lamar's sick. He's out of practice. He's got a stomach bug. He doesn't feel good. Like, it's every single year, guys. No, give me the under easily for the Ravens.
Well, outside of the Declan slander, which of course on this panel we can't.
Which, by the way,
we can't
I think I agree with Debro. If a Declan myself doesn't believe in another Declan, that says a lot. That says an awful lot. Okay, so yeah, but I'm with them.
I totally agree with you guys. This was actually this one is on my list too. This is one of my backup ones, depending on how much we ended up getting sniped. But this is too high of a win total with the factors at play here. This is another team, an injury to the quarterback just ends it right there. It's a burn the ticket kind of a moment. But then beyond that, to get over this number, a whole bunch of things had to go right. The running back, and getting up there in years and I know this is said every year. One year he is going to fall off a shelf. In Henry, we had the issues last year with Lamar Jackson. He got to stay healthy. And then the new coach coming in, he's a defensive guy, and we'll see how quickly he can get that thing up and running. But, yeah, this thing just seems a little bit rich for me at 11.5.
It's crazy.
All right, so 2 more picks on the board. You guys each get 1 left. Thor, you're on the clock before Debro will close us out.
My last one, I'm going to take the Bills over 10.5. The Bills, they have gone over this number for 6 straight seasons. You have the floor embedded there with Josh Allen, obviously. Add DJ Moore. They overpaid to get DJ Moore, but at least he's a competent receiver on a team that hasn't had many of them these past several years. The schedule is a little bit tougher this year, but it's far from a gauntlet. It's like a middle of a pack kind of a schedule. So give me the Bills to go over 10.5 wins.
Yeah, I think they also have, right? They have one of the best net rest advantages, which is crazy. So plus 14. So Josh Allen will only have 2 games. Josh Allen and the Bills, I should say. The Bills only have 2 games this year where they have a negative net rest advantage, and it's just by 1 game. Sometimes you get -3, -4. The Chargers, which I don't know if I'm spoiling anything, but the Chargers have -24 of net rest advantage this year. I should say net rest disadvantage. So, man, a rested Josh Allen. This feels like, are they ever going to be able to do it? I understand. I wouldn't have taken this top, but I think at a value pick, Thor, of like the 4th one on your board here, good spot to be. Good spot to be.
Yeah.
I like it, man.
All right, D-Bro, what do you got for the last one, man?
All right, I'm going to close this out, and a lot of people could say this is a disgusting pick. I'm actually going to go with the Jets over 5.5 wins. You can get this at even money in a lot of different places. Yeah, man. And so if you look at their schedule, just tell me this, guys. They have games against the Titans, the Browns, 2 games against the Dolphins. I mean, we're talking about what? There's your 5 wins, and the Cardinals. Like, okay, so we're at 5, so we just need 1 more game to swing their way. Like, they get the Buffalo Bills in Week 18. If, like, to your point, if the Bills are resting their starters and it is backup week for the Bills, can the Jets get a win in that game? And then we're at 6 wins. Easy. Not even saying that they surprise in any other form or fashion. Looking at how the Jets did this offseason, adding all the talent on the skill side to the offense, Omar Cooper Jr., Ken Sadiq, adding to the offensive line with Dylan Parham, adding tons of veteran leadership and guys that are going to raise the ceiling and the floor of this defense in David Bailey, T'Vondre Sweat, Demario Davis, Minkah Fitzpatrick, D'Angelo Pons on the back end. Like, they also have the fourth easiest schedule this year. So I don't think it's insane. Like, I'm not going out there and telling anybody, like, go crazy with this and bet alt lines or say the Jets are going to make the damn playoffs or anything. But, like, can they beat 5.5 wins and you're getting this at even money across books? Heck, you can probably get this in plus money in some books, depending on it. Like, looking at the schedule, looking at their offseason, I'm not a huge fan of Aaron Glenn as a head coach and stuff. Like, again, he could have made my short list of guys that get fired and this goes sideways. But I think in the totality of everything the Jets did this offseason and you put it up against their schedule, I am going to take the low bar of going over 5.5 wins. And it'd still be a rough season for the Jets, but they clear this.
I like the contrarian angle here. And yeah, looking at the schedule, they have 6 games against just putrid opponents, right? Between the Titans, the 2 games against the Dolphins, the Raiders, the Cardinals, and who am I missing? Dolphins. Did I say that? Anyway, yeah, Cardinals.
And the Browns.
Oh, and the
Browns.
I'm sorry, the Browns were the ones that I was missing. But yeah, it's six of those 17 games against putrid opponents. And then you mentioned some of the circumstantial things, like at the end of the season, could the Bills be resting starters? I think that one with the Jets, it's just going to come down to, like, is the organization going to go for, like, is Glenn going to be fighting for wins? Because it's like, or else we're going to fire you. What's sort of the impetus there as the season goes along, especially when you're looking at the 2027 NFL draft and potentially where you're going to take your quarterback. But some of these other teams, I think, are going to have more incentive potentially to be punting some of these different games. The Jets, at least, because of the way that they've done this the last couple of years with their trades, they have a ton of ammunition already in the 2027 draft. And just psychologically, you could see how if you have multiple first-round picks and extra day 2 picks, stuff like this, where it's like it's not as pressing necessarily potentially to race to the top of that draft by just laying down some of these different games, because you do have some trade ammo there as well. But I think I agree with you as far as a contrarian play. Like, I'm not going to get to the window on this one, but it's an interesting contrarian angle, because Dolphins, Raiders, Jets, like some of these different the Browns, someone has to win that game, right? Like, someone is going to have to win each one of those. So you sort of have to parse it that way.
Yeah, I mean, just looking at this, man, like, I think Aaron Glenn has to win games, and adding all the veteran talent on the defensive side, I think screams also from the brass talking here too of, like, you got to win or you're going home, dude. So I think they can put it together here.
Yeah, the only undrafted teams I had on my big board. By the way, I had 2 teams left. So speaking of sweating, did not have to sweat this out too much. I had 2 teams left on my board that if I wanted to take, now actually an injury came in like a couple hours ago when I was prepping for this last, and I might change this. I do like the Lions, but they lost their starting center for 8 weeks, I think, to start the year, which is going to be a problem. But they had the easiest schedule. They have a net rest. But 10.5 is that's a little rich for my blood. And then I do have under of Steelers, 8.5, 8.5 under Steelers. I don't know, man. Aaron Rodgers, I think, is completely cooked. I think, again, Ravens and Bengals are superior to them. I don't see a world where they win 9 games. And by the way, the guy that always wins 9 games no longer coaches there. So that's another one I was thinking about. I don't know if you guys had any leftovers there, but those were mine.
I was going to get super spicy if I had to, if you guys snipe me enough. But the last one left on my list was Rams under 11.5. The contemporary of the Ravens at 11.5 there. And it's like, it's considered sort of apocryphal. And yet I see a lot of paths to getting under the 11.5. Like, there's a whole bunch of different things that could happen where I don't want to say that it would get to be a lock, but like if Matthew Stafford got hurt early in the season, what is their path to get to 12 wins? Yeah. Right. And you can't just be like, oh, they could turn around and trade for another. They don't have any draft picks left, right, for the future. Like, so you're sort of boxed into the roster that you have. I know the idea is like they already have a super team, and then Aaron Donald can come back and different stuff like this. what if it goes the other way at the start of the season and Aaron Donald was never considering coming back? Like, we just don't know some of that different stuff. But this number, as it's constituted, requires essentially a perfect run out. I can't get there, especially in the division with the two other. I get they get the 2 freebie wins against the Cardinals like everyone else, but the other 4 games that they have against the other 2 teams, obviously tough, and they definitely have losable games on this schedule. So I would have faded the Rams.
I love that call, Thor. I absolutely love that call because, yes, the fragility of all this exists. And it's not even like, yes, we could easily, Stafford's the low-hanging fruit here. Can we also talk about the fact that they went with the quarterback in the NFL draft and they have Puka Nacua and Devontae Adams who have their own injury concerns and age and all that kind of stuff with Adams as well? So, like, if Puka and Adams miss time, heck, if both of them miss time, Stafford can stay healthy, and who is he throwing to? I mean, I'm sure, like, yeah, like the depth chart of 6 tight ends looks really sexy right now in the 13 personnel world. Is it that great when you're trotting out Content Munfield as your wide receiver 1? Hell no.
Yeah. But definitely agree with that. Yeah, and but obviously, we don't need to relitigate that thing. But yeah, having Mekhi Lemon or Monroe Freeling, the guy we were talking about before, as depth, if nothing else, for that, I think would have done better for this 2026 team than the direction they went.
Agreed.
I love it. All right, Sweating Sundays for Debro, for Thor. I am Dex. We'll be back here again next Monday. Again, drop us a comment. What over-unders are you looking at? What do you want to learn about on this podcast? Are there things that you want these 2 knuckleheads to help you out with? And who else is a degenerate live in-game better like me on the money line? I need some company, so please let me know I'm not completely alone on this. But for Debro, for Thor, I am Dex. This is Sweating Sundays.